from the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg. This is a special edition of Inside Government with Cedric Peterson.
To our audience here at home and around the world, you are now inside government. As you know, continuing to prepare for the hurricane season, the government of St. Martin engages in its annual exercises. The hurricane season exercise called the HUREX 2023 is in full effect. And we also have VNK International, who's also joining us in our interview to talk more about preparations. My guests, representing the Fire Department and Disaster Management expert, Savannah Pauletta, and we also have VNK International Disaster Management expert, Mr. Han Pelster. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for this edition of the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
The project Fostering Resilient Crisis Management, I want to start with you first, Han. Give us some more insight in regard to this. The project supports the government of St. Martin in crisis management and response. Provide us some background in this initiative.
Yeah, it's a project that has started last year, and it will take 1.5 years more or less. And the aims of the project is to ensure that crisis information management will be more up to speed, that there will be also a training and educational strategy available. We are looking into operational and procedures, and in the last part of the project is looking into the regional cooperation with other partners.
Some of the challenges that we face, which is what these exercises are all about, it exposes opportunities for us to get better. One of them that I picked up on, Savannah, you can chime in here, human resources. It's not just government, it's across the board. We have an issue here when it comes to human resource capacity. How can we improve this?
We can improve this by expanding our organization, prioritizing several items, including disaster management. Right. And by investing in disaster management, we can expand the staff. But until then, we can make use of these kind of organizations like VNGI who can assist us as we growing and expanding our expertise in disaster management.
I noticed that there's the focus of a net-centric crisis information management system is involved in the process of the project itself. What exactly is that, and how does it serve this exercise?
Well, net-centric means that all the information that you need during a disaster is available to everybody who needs it at the right time and at the moment. So it means that not only information that is available for the fire department, for example, is staying at the fire department, but it's also available for the government, it's available for the ambulance services, and everybody can add information to that information or can use that information. So all the stakeholders who are working in the disaster can make use of it. It also means, with regards to your previous question with human resources, it's also about working smarter. So ensuring that information is available also means that you don't have people running around to get information or to ask for information, but it's available somewhere in a system or whatsoever.
Gotcha. Training and education strategy that is used for this. What is the focus there in the training and education strategy? Enhance on that. Explain that in more detail.
I think the main focus there, and that's also about capacity building. The main focus there is that, of course, you can always request VNGI or any other organization or consultant to come over to the island and explain and train people or organize an exercise. But it's so much better if the island and the people on the island are capable and have the capacity to do it themselves. So the training and educational part is focusing on that one. So we have taken from all bodies that are involved in the disaster management, we've requested people who are willing to be trained, and there's a group of 12 persons which we have been training for the last year, and that's a train-the-trainer program. And the train-the-trainer program is focusing on those 12 persons being able to give trainings after this training to other people. So it becomes some sort of a ongoing process that more and more people are being trained on the island.
Right.
But these 12 persons, for example, are also able and capable of organizing exercises. Right. Which is very nice about this train-the-trainer program is that coming Monday, the certification will take place. So they are finalizing their train-the-trainer program.
Yes, so indeed, like Han is saying, we have been busy with capacity building. St. Martin over the years has its disaster management experts, people with experience. But what is important is that we prepare the next generation to continue improve in disaster response and preparedness, because as you may notice, a lot of effort has gone in disaster response, but we got to make sure that we're ready, and therefore we got to continue to invest in disaster preparedness.
Of course.
And one of the, as you may see right now, the government is launching different projects. We had the launch of the project of the early warning system. There's also going to be a launching of disaster management office that's going to be developed. So there are different projects right now happening on developing disaster response and preparedness, disaster response and preparedness. And training education, of course, is very important, so that it's not only an office, but it's a team of people with different disciplines, with different skills, come together, so that when the disaster strikes, we are prepared across the board.
Okay, so let's look at that. For example, a young person watching this program right now, and they want to look at the expertise and the skill sets that would be required. What are they?
So first of all, it needs to be the willingness to help each other. Because I can tell you, during disaster, there has been many people that assisted and left the home behind, disregarding the state of the home, to go and help the rest of the people within the country. So first of all is the willingness. And next to it, there are so many different skills that can be used during a disaster response, that anybody, once you're willing, there is a role for you within disaster management, disaster response.
Speaking to Silvanico Pauletta, Fire Department and Disaster Management Expert, and along with Han Pelster from V&K International, Disaster Management Expert. Gentlemen, we're going to continue our conversation in our next segment. Stay with us, St. Martin. We're talking about how you can prepare for the hurricane season, and of course showcasing how government, your organization, is actually doing that for hurricane season 2023. More coming up right after the break. Stay with us.
During the hurricane season, patients with chronic long-term diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, and others who need to follow a specific diet are reminded to ensure that their hurricane kit includes 2 weeks of non-perishable foods that allow them to continue to follow their recommended diet. These patients should also have extra medication and medical supplies and continue to use them as prescribed by their house doctor or other treating physician during and after the hurricane. These items vary per patient, so patients should contact their doctor to find out what the most suitable foods for their conditions are. If you have a family member or a friend who takes prescribed medications or needs to follow a specific diet, call, text, or pass by them to make sure that they're prepared. This message has been brought to you by the St. Martin Medical Center and the Department of Communication.
Hi, everyone. If you're just joining us, you're Inside Government. I'm having a conversation with disaster management experts representing V&K International. I'm joined by Mr. Han Pelster and, of course, our very own Silvanico Pauletta of the Fire Department and Disaster Management Expert. We're talking about how to make sure you're prepared this hurricane season, and also showcasing how the government of St. Martin is also making the necessary steps and preparing for this hurricane season 2023. The resilient crisis management we were talking about in our first segment. Pauletta, you left off highlighting some of the skills that are required based on the question I asked on what is needed in that area. Can you further expand? What are some of the specific skills that you're also looking at that will be needed as we prioritize building our crisis management and capabilities?
Yes. For us to understand that, first we have to understand how the organization is set up. So if you look at the organization basically has 3 coordinating levels. You have an operational level, you have a tactical level, and a strategic level. And within each of those levels, skill sets are needed. So on the operation level, we're thinking like emergency responders. We're thinking about personnel of GB, Telem, all of them were making the infrastructure work, including Vromi. Also, persons like yourself, who is getting the information out to the public. So different skill sets are used on that level. On a tactical level, also people are busy executing policies, making sure to assist the emergency workers that they are able to execute their job. There are also people with financial skills are needed to make sure that whatever we do, the price is paid and is covered. And also on strategic level, here you look at laws and strategies. What is the impact? Who are our international partners that we have to reach out to? Yeah. So the different skills are needed here.
Yeah, it's very, very vast. But again, it has to be focused and prioritized along the lines of what we need, especially as a small island developing state.
And those who are interested, there are specific studies in disaster management. So I know of several young St. Martiners right now who are studying disaster management, and we're looking forward for them to gain their experience and bring it home.
Of course, absolutely.
If you are interested, you can, and you're not ready to get started with your studies yet, you can start with, for example, becoming a volunteer for one of the NGOs on the island, or for the CERT.
Yes.
These are the opportunities that are available to anyone who is interested in learning more about this.
Definitely.
Yes. Okay. So Hans just mentioned CERT. CERT stands for Community Emergency Rescue Teams. It's a project that has recently started, and it's building our volunteer capacity of within St. Maarten to respond to emergencies within the community.
Han, as it relates to the expertise provided, especially from VNG International as a part of building our crisis management and resilience, give us some insight there as to the experts involved in this exercise.
Yeah, there are mainly 4 experts involved. If we're looking into information management, my colleague Kenny Meesters, he's the information management WizKit. And I've been working with him previously because we both are engaged in the United Nations disaster and assessment capacity, and for the European Union as well. So we are both going out on disasters around the world. And Kenny is really involved in the information management, and he knows how to build an information management system, but also how to incorporate all the different teams working on information management and to ensure that they are willing to cooperate in a better way. So that's for information management. If we look into the training and educational strategy, we have Marta Huibers. And Marta is has a background from crisis management, but also is a psychologist and trained in giving trainings. She's a training expert. So she's really looking into the aspect of how can we ensure that the people who are in the training program are getting into the right level and getting the right expertise, but also that they feel encouraged and that they feel safe in this environment of being a trainer to other people later on. And last but not least, it's Raman Madan. It's also an international expert. He's also working, for example, for the EU, Civil Protection Unit. And Raman is mainly focusing on the international cooperation. So, for example, with the islands around us, how are we ensuring, and that's also coming back to your human resource capacity question. So what if something happens to St. Maarten, and how can we ensure that the islands around us can support us? So do we know how to reach them? Do we know who we need from those islands? But it's also about the cooperation with the Ministry of Defense of the Netherlands and the Ministry of BZK in the Netherlands. So those international partners, but it can also be the Americas, for example. And he's focusing on that one.
Okay. That allows me to now get into the question concerning that partnership when it comes to regional. So next to what we get within the kingdom, how does it work, Pauletta, if you can shed some light there as it relates to some of the regional organizations that we are partnered with when it comes to being ready in a form of a crisis?
One of the partners that we are working on our relationship is CIDIMA, which stands for
Caribbean disaster emergency management.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great team.
Yes. So CDIMA, they have their expertise and the capacity within the region, and they are also one of the partners or regional partners. Right. Also, we have our individual networks. Mm-hmm. So the police, for example, they work with the different police departments within the Dutch Caribbean. Also, the fire department works together with its own other partners within the Dutch Caribbean, and you have eventually also the medical. In the medical field, also there's a network between the different Dutch Caribbean islands.
Now, when it comes to mobilization, how effective are we there? Is there still opportunity to grow? Because it's always about how fast we can get things done. And that's always something you get from the public when it comes to a crisis situation. Where are we right now, would you say, with regard to mobilizing ourselves? If you had to give us a rating, what would that rating be? Trick question. I'm sure it is. It makes you stop and think a little bit. But a fair assessment, what would you say over all the years of experience?
I think to get ourselves ready, mm-hmm. we are on an 8 when it comes to ready. There are, of course, different fields where we can improve on, but our quick response, 80% we will be ready. We know what to do, because the next hurricane is not our first one, okay. Our first rodeo.
And I also think that, with regard to what you're saying about that 80% that we know, I think also for those lacking 20% or 25%, I think that's also what the government is focusing on. So that's also why there is a project fostering resilient crisis management, for example, and that's why there's a project, the Disaster Management Office, so to develop there as well.
Talking to Sylvanica Pauletta, Fire Department and Disaster Management Expert, along with Han Pelster from VNK International. Sid Martin, stay with us. In our last segment, we're going to talk more about the hurricane exercise called HUREX 2023, what it's all about this year. Give us some history about that as well. Where are we moving forward when it comes to disaster preparedness? Stay with us. Our conversation continues right after the break.
During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emil Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zakers Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welgelaken Road Cahill from Welgelaken Road Roundabout until the Wantete Loke Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Kupakoi from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Hi, everyone. If you just tuned in, you're Inside Government. We're talking about hurricane season preparedness and my conversation continuing here with Sylvanica Pauletta and Mr. Han Pelster. We're going to get into the HUREX exercise for 2023. I want to start off, Pauletta, with first establishing with individuals who are still not quite familiar with the HUREX. Just give us the opportunity to get some insight. Give us the historical perspective on this exercise. And where we are now. You can transition to that part as to, the future of HUREX exercises.
Yes. So the hurricane exercise trains the disaster response mechanism. And as I highlighted a little earlier, the disaster management organization consists of 3 layers. You have the operational, the tactical, and the strategic. On the operational level, you have mainly the emergency response services, including their partners like Red Cross, VKS, the the fire department, police, and ambulance.
That make up that group that we always refer to as the COPI.
Yes.
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 Which you can translate as command post incident. It's operational. To support the emergency response and deal with the effects, you have a tactical group. I say group because it exists of 10 different teams. And the teams are, first you have the utilities, which is managed by GB. Then you have telecom and post, which is managed by BTP. Thirdly, you have infrastructure, which is done by VROMI. Fourth, you have the fire department, which is managing hazards and rescue. Fifth, you have the justice, which is ESF 5 and coordinated by the police with its partners. 6, you have the medical field, which is so the ambulance, but also hospital and all the other chain partners. And 7 is social services, which deals with all the citizens of St. Maarten, including shelter management, mass distribution. 8 is DECOM, which communicates the messages and communicates with the public. 9 is governmental affairs, which is general affairs is managing ESF 9, and right. 10 you have TIAT, which is dealing with the other population on the island, the tourists, and also the airport and the harbor.
Right. So just for clarity's sake, make sure everyone understands that you've just broken down the 10 emergency support function groups yes. that exist under our disaster management structure yes. Under the Emergency Operations Center.
Yes. So they have operational tasks, but they also have tactical tasks, and there's where they meet with each other, and that is chaired by the National Disaster Coordinator. That's the fire chief. That's by law. We have on operational level, fire department has to provide a leader of the COPI. On a tactical level, the fire department provides the fire chief, who is the National Disaster Coordinator. And then on strategic level, when there's amendments of policies, when there is major, when there is deviation from policies, when there might be implementation of certain laws, that meeting is then chaired by the Prime Minister, who is then the Supreme Command.
Now, when it comes to the overall exercise goal for Hurricane Exercise HUREX 2023, what are the objectives this year?
So this year, there is mainly for the teams to meet. So it focuses mainly on the tactical level, but there are also some operational and strategic aspects in it. But it's mainly that the tactical teams get to meet with each other, take decisions. So they basically gather the facts, analyze the situation, take decisions, and then disseminate the information between each other. So info management is a very important aspect of this exercise. Also, there are EOC meetings, so where the emergency service coordinators meet with each other together with the Prime Minister or the National Disaster Coordinator, and they take decisions as well.
So we see here the resilient crisis management, fostering resilient crisis management will give you an opportunity to be able to practice what you've learned in the HUREX with regard to this. So this basically comes first before the HUREX. You can actually see it in operation or practice. Is that the idea when you're looking at it to kind of, execute it in the HUREX and get an idea of how it works?
Definitely. And all the bodies that are working in disaster management, they are all year through working on their disaster management processes. So they're ensuring that their processes, their plans, and everything is up to speed all the time because things are changing all the time. And during an exercise like the HUREX, it's the moment where we're going to test and to check and to see if what is in the manuals, what's in the processes, if that's working well. And as Mr. Pauletta said, it's also true that it's very useful that people see each other and learn how to work with each other within the different emergency support functions.
Gotcha. The process of HUREX 2023 is a little special this year, breaking down T-minus 3 days and counting. What's to come in the next steps, the next few days ahead as the exercise builds up?
Yes, so in the 3 weeks in advance, we have been simulating every week. Every week was actually 1 day. So the 3 weeks in advance simulates 3 days prior to the impact. So next week will be the HUREX itself. So the next week, which is the week of the 20th and the 22nd of June, that's where the ESFs and the EOC will be dealing with the impact of an imaginary hurricane.
Exercise.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, and right now, these 3 weeks, we are exercising the preparation, and after that, we'll exercise the impact and what to do after the response and after the impact.
So what you see right now is in the last 3 weeks that all the emergency support functions, they are preparing. So they're, for example, they're preparing, okay, which shelters do we need to open in case the hurricane is affecting and hitting the island? The fire department is checking, okay, what are we going to do if there's a big impact, how we're going to do the impact analysis in a quick way. So we know what damage has been done on the island.
Which assistance needs to be requested from abroad in advance. Like, for example, the military.
Do we need to preposition teams, for example? And does the military need to preposition their ships? Or does the United Nations need to preposition their team? Or the European Union or the Netherlands, for example? So that's all been done in the last 3 weeks. And it's coming to an end right now by coming Friday, more or less. And then on Monday, new injects will come. And I cannot say too much about it because it's, of course, a secret. And otherwise, Mr. Pauletta doesn't have an...
doesn't have an exercise.
No. So new injects will come, and that will give room for the emergency support functions to play and to work again in the exercise, which will be on the Tuesday and the Thursday.
It's a very, very involved process, and every time we talk about it, we always run out of time, and we really don't get a chance to cover as much. But, gentlemen, I want to give you the opportunity, as we're closing out the program now, final words in preparation for the hurricane season that you can pass on to the people of St. Martin. Start with our guest, Han Pelter. What would you say to the people of St. Martin at this point in preparation for hurricane season and disaster overall?
Well, I think there's a lot that the government can do in preparation of disasters, but it's also very important that the public themselves also being prepared. So look at your own place, look at your own life. What can you do to be prepared for disasters as well?
Mr. Pauletta, your final words.
Well, disaster can happen at every time and at any time. What we don't know when, but we can be prepared. So from now, as we are in the hurricane season, make sure that you clean around your yard. Take away the debris, take the precaution. Take a look upon your roof. Make sure that your roof can handle a storm or a hurricane. And if not, make a plan in advance what to do in case it comes. Let's be prepared.
Sylvanico Pauletta, Fire Department Disaster Management Expert, and Han Pelster, VNG International Disaster Management Expert. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me in this edition of the program.
Thank you
so much, Thierry, for having us.
And to our radio listeners, television viewers, and of course our online audience, thank you for tuning in and being a part of this edition of the program. If you've missed a conversation that I've had with these two gentlemen, be sure to catch video on demand at the official government Facebook page, facebook.com/SXMGOV. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that's youtube.com, Government of St. Martin. And for audio playback, be sure to listen throughout the course of the day to St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM. On behalf of my colleagues at the Fire Department and, of course, the Office of Disaster Management and our friends at VNG International, I'm Cedric Peterson. Thanks so much for tuning in.